If you're spending more than 20 minutes on mixing your vocals, you may need to rethink on how you're mixing. I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. I used to spend hours tweaking EQs, stacking compressors, and not knowing what to do with them, and layering a ton of effects on my vocals to where it wouldn't sound crisp and clear and my vocals sounded like trash. Eventually, I built my own vocal template that actually works and that I use in sessions today. But every now and then, something new drops and it makes me curious. So when Neural DSP reached out to me with their brand new plugin specifically for vocals called Mantra, I had to try it out. This is an all-in-one vocal plugin that has all your tuning, compression, EQ, reverb, and delays, anything that you could think of with vocals, all in this one plugin. So I'm gonna walk you through how I mix vocals with this one single plugin, and let's see how Mantra stacks up in a full mix. So the vocals I'm gonna be mixing is from a song called Sharks by Skyly Thompson. As I'm filming this video right now, the song is not out yet, but as soon as it comes out, I'll be sure to pin it in the comments below. So let's check out the vocals right here. So this genre of song is a alternative indie rock style with some country vocals. So because it was doing country vocals, I wanted to add a little bit more grit into the vocals. So let's give it a listen. So let's check out the Mantra plugin. So this is Mantra. One thing that I really like about this plugin is from how sleek it looks and also how simple it is to read. So you can be a professional and also be a beginner and you're able to do anything that you want in this one plugin. And so let's go into a dive deep of this plugin. So you're greeted with this window right here, and you have three windows right here. So you have your correction window, you have your harmonize window, and you have your effects window. So let's focus on the correction window first. So for the correction window, we're greeted with this up here. We got your input mode if you do mono or stereo. I'm doing in mono. And then you also have your two monitoring styles. You have your tracking and mixing. Well, I'm not gonna be tracking right now, so I'm gonna be in the mixing mode. And then you have your root and scale. So this is for your tuning and for your harmonizer over here. So you're able to set what key you're in and if you're in a major, minor, and all that stuff. And then over here, we have our presets. So what's cool about this plugin is that you get a ton of different presets from different artists. If you want a certain vibe from someone that you like, you can just check it out right here, or something like just cool and spontaneous that you're just like, I just want to try something else or a different vibe. And what's also cool is that you're able to save your own presets. So if you have 5 different vocals that you're working on and you just want to just have a preset right there, and then with all your signal chain, you have it right here, the capability. So I think that's such a clutch thing that Neural DSP did. Then you have your limiter right here. You're able to turn that on and off. And then you have your output gain right here. Now we're down here to our signal chain. Also, another thing too that I like is that you have all these signal chains right here, but as soon as you click on them, you're greeted with a lot more options on there. So I think that's pretty cool. So let's start with the tuning. So with the tuning, you got your how much attack, retune, the on and off, the tolerance, humanize, your pitch and format. Next we got is a gate. So you have your opening and your closing and your hold time, and you're able to see the wave form right here when the vocal is singing. So you're able to see what is what the gate's doing. So then the next thing that we got is the sculpting. So what this does is that you're able to play your vocal, and then Mantra is able to select and sculpt an EQ and a dynamic compressor and able to fit it in for your mix and for the best for the vocal. And what's also cool is that you're able to have different style of curves on here too. So the main one that you start off is with the balanced one, but what I liked for this vocal is a pop curve. Then you have how much EQ that's getting pushed in here and how much dynamic compression going on. So the next thing that we got is a de-esser, and what's cool is that you're able to have a soft, medium, or hard de-essing, and then also choose how much amount of de-essing you have. They have a low cut and a high cut, and what's cool is that you're able to solo it it out to where you're able to hear clearly what's being attacked on the de-essing. And then the next thing that we got is an EQ. So right here, it did its own EQ for me. And right here, I did a little 2.5K dip on her vocals. And what's cool about this is that you're able to reset it to where you have full range on how you want to EQ the vocal. And you're able to choose the gain scale, frequencies and all that, able to hear the solo on the different bands that's going on. Yeah, this EQ is very great. Able to choose if you want to zoom in or zoom out, output gain. It's an EQ. Love it. Then you're greeted with compression. And so you get 3 different styles of compression. You got a tube style, which is like a LA2A. You got your stress style, which is basically your distressor. And then you have a multi-compressor, and this one has the OTT, which is the over-the-top compressor. And so what I really like is the stress compressor. It adds a little bit more grit, able to choose how much compression you want, what ratio, timing, and output. And then you're greeted with the saturation. And what's cool about the saturation is that you get 3 different types of saturation. You're able to have a tape saturation, which is a little bit more warm. You have a tube, which adds a little bit more grit. And then you have a digital, which is almost like a bit crusher. And then you have a mix, and then just choosing how much low cut, gain, and output on the saturation. So now let's go on to the next window, which is the harmonies one. You're able to have your settings right here for your pitch and time, low cut, high cut, level, width, DI, and the scale quantized. You have on and off, and then you're able to have 4 different pairs of harmonies on here. And so for the harmonies that I have right here, it's just 12 semitones up, and then I'm able to have just another 3rd part harmony. And then you're able to choose your semitones right here, able to go down and up with them, able to choose an octave down or an octave up, able to choose a level and the width. And what's also cool is that you're able to drag these around. So if you want them as loud as the vocal and really wide, or if you want them like super quiet but really close to your vocal. So, and then you're able to choose a select chord and everything like that. And then you're also able to use MIDI as well with this. So the possibilities are endless with this harmonizer plugin on here. And to me, this one does the best harmonizing ever on like a plugin. I've tried a ton of different harmony plugins, and to me, this one is like one of the best ones if you're doing in like real time, or like if you're tracking it, you're able to have that as well. So I think that's super neat. And then the next window that we have is the effects window. And so with the effects window, we have a delay, reverb, modulation, and doubler. And with the delays, you have 4 different styles of delay. You have an analog delay, circular delay, tape delay, and a dual delay. And you're able to have different settings for different delays. You're able to have time, feedback, width, ping pong, low cut, high cut, and then you're able to have a mix and a harmonies mix as well. So you're able to choose how much of the clean mix is going into there and how much of the harmony mix is going onto there. And then they also have this cool feature, which I've also talked about in my other videos, to where if you have a vocal and you have an effect on it, but you don't want the effect to be clouding up your main vocal, so what you'll do is that you put a sidechain on your effect and then have a sidechain to the main vocal, so whenever the main vocal is singing, that the effect, like a reverb or delay, is not affecting the vocals until the vocal is done singing. That way I get the trails out of it. And this already has it for you. So you can either turn that on and off and then choose how much of the ducking you want or how little of the ducking that you want. And I think around 30%, 30 to 50% is usually my go-to. But it's such a cool feature that it's already on here to where you don't have to do it yourself. And then the next thing that we have is the reverb. So we have 3 different types of reverb. We have a hall reverb, we have a plate reverb, and we have an ambience reverb. And then you're able to choose how much pre-delay and decay that you have, a low cut and high cut, and then you're able to choose a main vocal mix and a harmonies mix. And the same thing with the delay, you have a ducking that you can do. And then modulation, you have 3 different types of modulation. You have a chorus, a flanger, and a phaser, and you're able to choose the rate, the depth, able to be synced with your vocals, and then you have the same mix if you want it mixed with the main vocal or the harmonies. And then you have a doubler, which I really think this doubler shines. You're able to choose how much width of spread that you want or how little. Another cool feature with the FX plugins is that on here, it's like, usually if you see this, you're like, oh man, I'm not able to add more reverb right here or add more delay right here on a certain throw. Well, actually you can. What you do is that you just, on Logic, you just go to your automations tool, just go over here to the volume, and then you're able to choose Mantra, and then look right here. you're able to have all of these. So say for instance, I want the delay and what kind of delay type I want. Delay width, delay time, the sync rate, delay active if I want it on or off on a certain point, and the same thing with the reverb and all the stuff on here. You're able to automate all those things on here. So if you didn't think that Mantra can do automation, think again, because they added it in here. That's what you get with the Mantra plugin. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go ahead and restart this whole mix for the vocals, and we're gonna start from scratch and then see how quickly I can get a vibe from using this plugin. Okay, I opened up a new plugin of Mantra, and so let's go ahead and start mixing these vocals. Here we go.
I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end. Found out the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous. I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end. Found out the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous. I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous.
Make sure I'm putting on monitor.
I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end. Found out the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous. I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end.
So with the other stuff.
I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end. Found out the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous. I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end. Found out the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous.
Sounds cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some harmonies to widen up these vocals. So let's go ahead and do that.
I try to be the perfect daughter. I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end. Found out the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous. I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking.
I'm gonna go ahead and listen to it full.
I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking. There's sharks in the water, they live in the deep end. Found out the hard way, there's something under the surface, and I won't live afraid, but you're making me nervous.
sweet. I think I got a good vocal sound. And how long that took me? It probably just only took me like 3 or 4 minutes, honestly. So that's how powerful this vocal plugin is that if I'm looking for a certain vibe, I'm able to just sculpt it. Like the majority of the work is already done for you. But if you want to just like fine tune it to make it a little bit more, you know, a little bit more bitey or a little bit more darker, you're able to do that within this plugin and able to just do so much more. So this plugin is amazing. And actually, let me show you what's something cool about the presets too. So say for instance, I'm trying to go for a tight and dry radio vocal. Is that this preset is already in here? So let's check it out.
I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking.
Now that is cool. Imagine putting that underneath a clean vocal. Oh man, that's so sweet. Let's check out some more loud rocker.
I try to be the perfect daughter, but feel like I'm sinking.
So as you can see, the possibilities are endless with this plugin. You can have so much fun on just different styles that you want to do. So I highly recommend getting this plugin, and thank you Neuro DSP for sending this out to me. And if you want to see other mixing of the vocals, check out this video.